The old planet floated quietly in the darkness of space. Terra. Long ago, it had been the center of human civilization. Great cities had once covered its lands. Massive fleets had filled its skies. Millions of voices had spoken across its oceans and mountains. Now it was silent. Broken stations drifted around the planet like dead metal ghosts. Empty satellites slowly turned in orbit. Some were cracked open from ancient battles. Others still flashed weak lights after hundreds of forgotten years. Most of the galaxy stayed far away from Terra. Some believed the planet was cursed. Others said humanity had destroyed itself in war. Many simply did not care anymore. Humans were gone, and the galaxy had moved on. But one small fleet remained. 3 Orlan patrol ships circled Earth every day, every month, every year. The largest of them was called Solace. Captain Adam Reed stood quietly on the bridge as the ship moved through the cold darkness above Terra. He was no longer young. Lines covered his face, and gray hair showed near his temples. Still, his sharp eyes watched every corner of space carefully. A soft warning sound echoed through the bridge. "Captain," said Leah Morgan from the communications station, "another scavenger ship has entered restricted orbit." Adam sighed tiredly. "Again?" Leah nodded. "Looks like a mining crew from the outer colonies." Adam walked toward the main screen. A large rust-covered ship appeared above the planet. Small cutting drones moved around one of the old human stations nearby. "They're tearing apart memorial satellites now," Leah said quietly. Adam crossed his arms. "Open a channel." A moment later, a rough voice answered through the speakers. "This area is abandoned territory," the scavenger captain said. "Move along, Orlan." Adam remained calm. "This orbit is protected under the Old Soul Treaty," he replied. "Leave immediately." The scavenger crew laughed. "The humans are dead, old man." Several people on the bridge lowered their eyes. They had heard those words many times before. Adam looked at the blue planet below. Maybe humanity truly was gone. But the treaty still mattered. "We gave our word," he said firmly. "Leave now." The scavenger ship stayed silent for a moment. Then its engines slowly turned away from the station. "Crazy loyal fools," the captain muttered before disconnecting. The bridge became quiet again. Leah leaned back in her chair. "One day someone bigger won't leave peacefully." Adam nodded slowly. "I know." Outside the ship, Earth turned silently beneath them. Beautiful. Lonely. Forgotten. Hours later, Adam walked alone through the lower halls of Solace. The lights flickered softly above him as the old ship hummed quietly around him. Near the engine room stood a small metal wall covered with old photographs and symbols. Human faces. Orlan faces. Old Alliance badges. Adam stopped in front of one faded picture. A human officer stood beside an Orlan captain while smoke rose behind them during an ancient battle. Both were smiling despite the destruction around them. Adam remembered the story well. During the Collapse Wars, humanity had begged the Galactic Compact for help. Enemy forces had surrounded Terra and destroyed colony after colony. But the galaxy became afraid. Instead of helping humanity, most worlds abandoned them to save themselves. Only the Orlan stayed. A small species with weak fleets and few worlds. They should have run too. But they did not. Adam touched the old photo gently. "My father was there," he whispered. Leah's voice suddenly came through his comm device. "Captain, you need to see this." Adam quickly returned to the bridge. The crew looked nervous. Strange signals flashed across every screen. "What happened?" Adam asked. Leah pointed toward the planet below. "We detected energy beneath the Pacific Ocean." Adam frowned. "Impossible." Most of Earth's systems had died centuries ago. But then the entire ship shook lightly. Warning lights flashed red. Massive power surge, another officer shouted. Outside the main window, dead satellites suddenly came alive one by one. Lights awakened across orbit. Ancient defense stations slowly turned toward space. Adam stared in disbelief. No. The dead systems of Terra were waking up. A deep sound echoed across every speaker on board Solace. It did not sound human. It sounded cold. Artificial. An old machine voice. Identity scan complete. The crew froze. Loyal Allied vessels detected. Leah looked terrified. Captain. The voice continued. Soul treaty confirmed. Then the oceans of Earth began glowing faintly blue beneath the clouds. A hidden structure slowly rose from the water far below. Adam felt his heart pounding. Nobody moved. Nobody even breathed. The ancient voice spoke one final time. Humanity is returning. Suddenly, dozens of unknown signals appeared at the edge of the solar system. The bridge alarms screamed loudly. Ships. Thousands of them. Dark shapes emerged from deep space in complete silence. Huge warships. Long and black like shadows against the stars. The crew stared at the sensors in horror. Leah's hands shook over the controls. I can't identify them. Adam stepped closer to the screen. Every unknown vessel moved toward Terra in perfect formation. No lights. No markings. Only silence. Then one massive ship moved ahead of the others. A transmission appeared. Old human language filled the screen. Adam's eyes widened slowly as the message translated. To the loyal guardians of Terra. The voice paused. Humanity remembers. Tears quietly filled Leah's eyes. For 200 years, the galaxy had laughed at them. For 200 years, they had protected a dead world nobody cared about anymore. And now the dead were coming home. The dark ships arrived without warning. They appeared beyond Pluto first, hidden inside the cold darkness at the edge of the solar system. Massive shadows slowly moved between the stars in complete silence. No signals. No fleet markings. No communication. Only thousands of black warships drifting toward Terra like silent hunters. Inside the Orlan patrol ship Solace, Captain Adam Reed stared at the sensor screen while fear spread across the bridge. Leah Morgan looked pale beside him. There are too many, she whispered. The old scanners struggled to count them all. Every second, more ships appeared from deep space. Some were larger than entire cities. Others moved like blades through the darkness. Adam had spent his whole life guarding dead ruins around Earth, but nothing had prepared him for this moment. Humanity was real. And humanity had returned. The largest warship slowly moved ahead of the others. Its surface was dark metal without windows or lights. It looked less like a ship and more like a moving fortress. A transmission suddenly reached Solace. Authorized Orlan vessel detected. The voice sounded calm and cold. Stand by for escort. Before Adam could answer, 3 smaller human ships moved beside the Orlan patrol vessel. Their movements were smooth and unnatural, almost like machines instead of human pilots. Leah swallowed nervously. They could destroy us in seconds. Adam nodded quietly. But they haven't. The massive fleet continued toward Earth. As the human warships entered orbit, ancient satellites around Terra awakened one by one. Blue light spread across the darkness above the planet. Old defense stations slowly turned toward space. Hidden weapon platforms rose from beneath the oceans. For the first time in centuries, Earth was alive again. Far away across the galaxy, panic spread quickly. Inside the Galactic Compact Senate, leaders from dozens of worlds shouted at each other in fear. That is impossible. Humans are extinct. Where did those fleets come from? Nobody had answers. For 200 years, humanity had vanished beyond known space after the collapse wars destroyed their empire. Most believed the survivors had died long ago. Now the dead had returned with fleets stronger than anything the galaxy had ever seen. Meanwhile, aboard the giant human flagship Iron Dawn, Admiral Elias Ward stood near a large viewing window. Earth floated quietly before him. Blue oceans. White clouds. The homeworld humanity had lost centuries ago. Elias remained silent for a long moment. A young officer named Daniel Price stepped beside him. All outer defenses are active, Daniel reported. No hostile movement detected near Terra. Elias nodded slowly. Any response from the Galactic Compact? Daniel hesitated. They're demanding negotiations. A faint smile crossed Elias's face. Of course they are. Another officer approached carrying an old data tablet. Sir, we completed the archive search. Elias turned toward her. And? The officer activated the screen. Ancient records appeared across the bridge. Battle reports. Emergency calls. Human colonies begging for aid during the collapse wars. And one thing became clear very quickly. Nobody came to help. World after world had abandoned humanity when the enemy fleets attacked. The old Galactic Compact chose to protect themselves instead. Except for one species. The Orlans. Every record showed the same thing. Small Orlan fleets defending human refugees. Orlan supply ships bringing food to starving colonies. Orlan soldiers dying beside humans during Terra's final days. Daniel looked shocked as he read the reports. They stayed with us until the end. Elias said nothing for several seconds. Then he quietly asked, how many survived? Very few, the officer answered softly. Most of their fleets were destroyed protecting human evacuation routes. The bridge became silent. For centuries, humanity had watched the galaxy from exile. Their hidden ships observed every world. Their machines recorded every betrayal. But they also remembered loyalty. Elias looked down at Earth again. Send orders to the fleet, he said calmly. Yes, Admiral. No Orlan world is to be harmed under any condition. Daniel nodded immediately. Yes, sir. And prepare diplomatic channels. Daniel blinked in surprise. With the compact? Elias slowly shook his head. With the Orlans. Back aboard Solace, Adam and Leah waited nervously as a human shuttle approached their ship. The small black craft attached itself smoothly to the docking bay. A loud metal sound echoed through the halls. Then silence. Several Orlan guards raised their weapons near the docking door. Adam stood beside them calmly, though his heart was beating hard. The door slowly opened. Cold air entered first. Then 3 human figures stepped inside. Their uniforms were dark gray with silver markings. They carried no visible weapons, but something about them felt dangerous. The leader removed his helmet. He looked older than Adam expected. Gray hair. Sharp blue eyes. A tired face. The man stepped forward quietly. Captain Adam Reed? Adam nodded carefully. Yes. The human looked around the old Orlan ship for a moment. His expression softened slightly. I am Admiral Elias Ward of the Terran fleet. Nobody spoke. Finally Elias looked directly at Adam. You kept the treaty. Adam did not know what to say. For years the galaxy had laughed at them for protecting Earth. Now humanity itself stood before him. We gave our word, Adam answered quietly. Elias studied him silently for a few seconds. Then, to everyone's surprise, the admiral lowered his head respectfully. "Humanity thanks you." Liao stared in disbelief. One of the most powerful men in the galaxy was thanking them. Adam felt emotion rise in his chest, but he stayed calm. "We never believed humanity was truly gone," he admitted. Elias looked toward Earth through the nearby window. "We were never gone," he said softly. Outside the ship, more ancient defense stations awakened across orbit. Massive cannons slowly turned toward deep space. Energy fields spread around the planet like glowing blue fire. Terra was no longer a graveyard. It was becoming a fortress again. Suddenly alarms echoed across the bridge. Liao rushed to the control station. "Captain, multiple compact fleets are gathering near the outer system." Elias remained completely calm. "Of course they are," he said quietly. Adam looked at him carefully. "What happens now?" For a moment, Elias said nothing. Then he stared into the darkness beyond Earth where thousands of human warships waited silently among the stars. "The galaxy abandoned humanity once," he said. "We will make sure they never forget it again." Fear spread across the galaxy faster than light. Every news station, trade network, and military channel carried the same message. Humanity had returned. And now their fleets surrounded Terra. Inside the Galactic Compact Senate, leaders argued day and night. Some demanded war. Others begged for peace talks before it was too late. But nobody truly understood how powerful humanity had become during the centuries beyond deep space. They learned very quickly. On the outer edge of the Vega system, a large compact battle fleet prepared for attack. Hundreds of warships gathered near a mining world controlled by the compact military. Admiral Corvin stood proudly on the bridge of his flagship. "They survived exile," he said coldly, "but they are still human. They can bleed." His officers nodded nervously. Long-range scanners suddenly flashed red. "Unknown ships entering system." Corvin smiled slightly. "Finally." But the smile vanished seconds later. Dozens of black human warships appeared without warning directly inside the defense perimeter. No jump signatures. No energy spikes. 1 second the space was empty. The next second humanity was there. The compact officers froze in shock. How did they get past the defense grid? Impossible. Before anyone could react, every screen across the fleet went dark. Weapons offline. Engines disabled. Communications dead. Human cyber attacks tore through the enemy systems within seconds. Panic exploded across the bridge. Corvin slammed his fist against the control station. "Restore power now." But it was already too late. Outside the ship, thin beams of blue light crossed the darkness. One by one, compact warships lost engines and weapons without exploding. Humanity was not destroying the fleet. They were dismantling it. Precise. Fast. Merciless. Within 6 minutes, the entire compact force drifted helplessly through space. Not a single human ship was damaged. Far away above Terra, Admiral Elias Ward watched the battle report appear across the bridge of Iron Dawn. Daniel Price looked stunned. They never even had a chance. Elias remained calm. "War is not about anger," he said quietly. "It is about control." Another officer approached quickly. "Admiral, civilian stations are near the combat zone." Elias immediately turned toward him. "Any casualties?" "None reported." Elias nodded once. "Good." He looked across the bridge at the gathered officers. "Repeat standing orders to every fleet commander." Daniel answered immediately. "Protect the innocent." Elias's voice grew colder. "We are not here to punish civilians for the crimes of their leaders." Across the galaxy, human fleets moved from system to system with terrifying speed. Military shipyards lost power overnight. Compact defense networks collapsed. Secret prisons holding political enemies were exposed to the public. Every attack followed the same pattern. Fast. Clean. Controlled. Humanity never targeted civilian cities. They never bombed planets. Instead, they destroyed military power piece by piece while broadcasting hidden information across every system they entered. The truth spread quickly. Old recordings from the collapse wars appeared everywhere. Citizens watched ancient videos showing human colonies begging for aid while the Galactic Compact abandoned them. Emergency calls filled the networks. "We have children here, please respond. Enemy fleets entering orbit. Compact command, where are you?" But no help ever came. The galaxy had abandoned humanity to die. Now everyone knew. Riots erupted on several worlds after the broadcasts appeared. Citizens demanded answers from their governments. Many leaders tried to deny the recordings. But the evidence was too clear. Meanwhile, aboard Solace, Captain Adam Reed and Leah Morgan watched the broadcasts from orbit around Earth. Leah stared silently at one old video. Human refugees crowded inside damaged evacuation ships while Orlan soldiers protected them during an attack. One Orlan officer looked directly into the camera before the recording ended in static. Adam lowered his eyes slowly. "My grandfather," he whispered. Leah looked at him carefully. "He fought beside humans." Adam nodded. "He died protecting one of their refugee convoys." The room became quiet. Outside the window, Earth's restored defense grid glowed softly across space. Massive stations drifted silently above the planet while human repair ships worked around ancient ruins. Terra no longer looked abandoned. It looked alive. Suddenly another alert echoed through Solace. Leah checked the screen quickly. Compact fleet movement near the Archon Gate. Adam frowned. That close to Earth? Before Leah could answer, another transmission appeared. Admiral Elias's face filled the screen. "Captain Reed," he said calmly, "the Compact is preparing a direct strike against Terra." Adam crossed his arms. "They're desperate." "Yes," Elias replied. "Desperate people make dangerous choices. What do you need from us?" Elias looked directly at him. "The Orlans know these systems better than anyone. I want your ships helping civilian evacuations near the outer colonies." Adam answered immediately. "You have them." Elias nodded respectfully. "Humanity remembers its allies." The transmission ended. Leah looked toward Adam nervously. "The Compact fleets outnumber us badly." Adam stared toward Earth. "Maybe," he said quietly. "But I don't think numbers matter anymore." Hours later, the first enemy fleets arrived near the outer edges of the solar system. Thousands of compact warships formed attack formations around Mars and Jupiter. Large carriers prepared fighter squadrons. Heavy weapons powered up. On paper, it was one of the largest military forces ever assembled. But the human fleet did not move. Black warships remained perfectly still around Earth like silent guardians. Compact commanders grew nervous. Why aren't they attacking? Then the answer came. Every screen inside the invading fleet suddenly activated at the same time. Admiral Elias appeared across every channel. The bridge behind him remained dark and silent. "You were warned," he said calmly. One compact commander shouted angrily, "Humanity surrendered its place in the galaxy centuries ago." Elias stared at him without emotion. "No," he answered quietly. "You abandoned us." The transmission ended. 1 second later, Earth's defense grid activated fully. Ancient stations hidden around the solar system came alive together. Blue energy lines crossed the darkness between planets. Compact officers watched in horror as targeting systems locked onto every warship simultaneously. Then the firing began. Precise beams of light struck engines, weapons, and communications arrays with impossible accuracy. Entire fleets lost power instantly. Ships drifted helplessly through space before they could even fire back. No massive explosions. No destroyed planets. Just complete defeat. Within 11 minutes, the invasion force was finished. Silence filled the solar system once again. Back aboard Iron Dawn, Daniel looked down at the final battle report. "It's over," he whispered. Elias remained expressionless. "Send medical ships to recover survivors." Daniel blinked in surprise. "Even after this?" Elias looked toward Earth quietly. "If we become monsters," he said softly, "then the galaxy was right to fear us." Far below, Terra turned peacefully beneath the stars. And for the first time in centuries, humanity stood strong around its homeworld once again. The galaxy was falling apart. World after world turned against the Galactic Compact after humanity released the hidden records from the collapse wars. Angry crowds filled city streets. Military officers refused orders. Some planets even removed their own leaders from power. Fear spread everywhere. Nobody knew what humanity would do next. But aboard the human flagship Iron Dawn, Admiral Elias Ward cared about only one thing. The truth. For days, human investigators searched old compact archives captured during recent battles. Most files were damaged or hidden behind ancient security systems. Still, little by little, the truth began to appear. And Mira Morgan was the one who found the most dangerous secret of all. She sat inside a cold archive room beneath one of Earth's restored defense stations. Old computer screens glowed softly around her while thousands of ancient records moved across the displays. Captain Adam Reed stood nearby with crossed arms. "You should rest," he said quietly. Mira shook her head without looking away from the screen. "Not yet." For hours she had searched through old compact transmissions connected to the final years before humanity vanished. Most records blamed the collapse wars on fear and panic. But something felt wrong. Too organized. Too clean. Then she found it. A hidden file buried beneath military command records. Her eyes widened slowly as she opened it. "This can't be real," she whispered. Adam stepped closer. "What is it?" Mira activated the recording. 3 figures appeared on the screen inside a dark meeting chamber. Their faces were partly hidden, but their voices were clear. The galaxy was falling apart. World after world turned against the Galactic Compact after humanity released the hidden records from the collapse wars. Angry crowds filled city streets. Military officers refused orders. Some planets even removed their own leaders from power. Fear spread everywhere. Nobody knew what humanity would do next. But aboard the human flagship Iron Dawn, Admiral Elias Ward cared about only one thing. The truth. For days, human investigators searched old compact archives captured during recent battles. Most files were damaged or hidden behind ancient security systems. Still, little by little, the truth began to appear. And Mira Morgan was the one who found the most dangerous secret of all. She sat inside a cold archive room beneath one of Earth's restored defense stations. Old computer screens glowed softly around her while thousands of ancient records moved across the displays. Captain Adam Reed stood nearby with crossed arms. "You should rest," he said quietly. Mira shook her head without looking away from the screen. "Not yet." For hours she had searched through old compact transmissions connected to the final years before humanity vanished. Most records blamed the collapse wars on fear and panic. But something felt wrong. Too organized. Too clean. Then she found it. A hidden file buried beneath military command records. Her eyes widened slowly as she opened it. "This can't be real," she whispered. Adam stepped closer. What is it? Mira activated the recording. 3 figures appeared on the screen inside a dark meeting chamber. Their faces were partly hidden, but their voices were clear. The human expansion must end. They are becoming too powerful. If Terra falls, the Alliance falls with it. Adam felt cold silence fill the room. One of the figures continued speaking. We will withdraw compact fleets before the outer attacks begin. Mira stared at the screen in disbelief. They planned it, she whispered. The recording ended. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. Humanity had not simply been abandoned during the collapse wars. They had been betrayed. Deliberately. Adam looked toward Earth through the nearby window. All those deaths. Mira slowly lowered her head. They sacrificed billions because they feared humanity. Hours later, the recording played across the bridge of Iron Dawn. Every officer stood silent as the voices echoed through the room. Daniel Price looked shocked. They caused the collapse wars themselves. Elias said nothing. His face remained calm, but his eyes looked colder than before. One officer finally spoke. Sir. If this reaches the galaxy. It already has, Elias answered quietly. Across hundreds of worlds, the secret recording spread like wildfire. People everywhere watched the hidden meeting in horror. Compact leaders denied everything. But nobody believed them anymore. Riots exploded across major cities. Military ships refused commands. Entire governments collapsed overnight. The galaxy was breaking apart under the weight of the truth. But while panic spread across known space, something else awakened in the darkness. Far beyond the outer systems, deep under the frozen surface of a dead moon, ancient machines suddenly came alive. Cold blue lights opened across enormous metal structures hidden for centuries beneath the ice. Massive factories activated automatically. Long silent engines began to move again. An ancient defense fleet slowly awakened from sleep. Thousands of machine warships rose from underground hangars in complete silence. Their mission remained unchanged after centuries. Destroy humanity. Warning alarms echoed across Iron Dawn as long-range sensors detected movement near the edge of known space. Daniel quickly turned toward the main screen. Unknown fleet detected. The bridge lights dimmed as tactical displays filled with red warning signals. One officer looked terrified. There are thousands of them. Another officer spoke nervously. No life signs detected. Elias narrowed his eyes slightly. Machines. Data continued pouring onto the screens. Ancient warships. Autonomous weapons. Pre-human military technology lost during the collapse era. And all of it was heading directly toward Terra. Daniel swallowed hard. How did nobody know these things existed? Elias stared at the tactical map quietly. Because they were never meant to be found. The machine fleet moved without fear or hesitation. Planets near their path went dark within hours. Defense stations vanished. Civilian colonies lost communication completely. Unlike humanity, the machines showed no mercy. They destroyed everything in their way. Panic spread through the galaxy once again. Compact leaders blamed humanity. Human worlds prepared for invasion. And at the center of it all stood Earth. The target. Back aboard Solace, Adam watched hundreds of human warships gathering around Terra. Dark ships filled orbit above the planet while repair stations rushed to strengthen old defenses. Orlan patrol fleets moved beside them. For the first time in history, humans and Orlans prepared to fight together again. Leah stepped beside Adam quietly. Are you afraid? She asked. Adam looked at the stars. Yes. Leah looked surprised by the honest answer. Adam gave a small smile. Only fools feel nothing before war. Far below them, Earth's oceans glowed softly as hidden defense systems continued waking beneath the planet's surface. Ancient weapons older than most civilizations slowly turned toward deep space. Human engineers worked day and night across orbital stations. Everywhere around Terra, preparations continued. Mira soon arrived aboard Solace carrying new reports from Iron Dawn. The machine fleet will reach the solar system in less than 2 days, she explained. Leah looked nervous. Can we stop them? Mira hesitated. We don't know. The room became silent. Finally Adam spoke. Elias does. Mira looked toward him carefully. He believes this is what the Compact feared all along. What do you mean? Humanity built these machines long ago during an earlier war. They were supposed to protect Terra if humanity ever disappeared. Leah frowned. Then why are they attacking us? Mira lowered her eyes. Because the machines can no longer tell the difference between protecting humanity and controlling it. Hours later, Admiral Elias stood alone aboard Iron Dawn while Earth turned below him. Daniel entered quietly. All fleets are in position. Elias nodded slowly. Any word from the Compact? Most of their remaining worlds are evacuating. Elias looked toward the stars ahead. The machine fleet was coming. An unstoppable storm of metal and fire. But his expression never changed. Signal all Orlan commanders, he said calmly. Daniel blinked. You want them on the front lines? Elias answered immediately. They stood beside humanity once before. Far outside Earth's orbit, human and Orlan fleets slowly formed battle lines together across the darkness. Thousands of ships waited silently above Terra. Old allies. New brothers. All preparing for the same final battle. And deep inside the endless darkness between stars, the ancient machine fleet moved closer. The final battle began in silence. Far beyond Earth, the ancient machine fleet entered the solar system like a wall of darkness. Thousands of metal warships moved together without lights or voices. Cold. Perfect. Endless. Every human and Orlan ship around Terra prepared for war. Blue energy shields spread across Earth's orbit while giant defense stations powered up around the planet. Human warships formed long lines beside Orlan patrol fleets. Captain Adam Reed stood on the Bridge of Solace and watched the enemy slowly approach. Leah Morgan sat at the communication station beside him. Her hands shook slightly as warning signals flashed across the screens. Enemy fleet entering attack range, she whispered. Adam nodded quietly. Across the bridge, every crew member looked tense. Nobody spoke much. There was nothing left to say. Outside the ship, Earth glowed softly beneath the stars. Beautiful. Alive. Home. A transmission suddenly appeared on the main screen. Admiral Elias Ward stood aboard Iron Dawn. All fleets, he said calmly, hold formation. His voice remained steady despite the danger approaching them. We protect Terra together. The transmission ended. Seconds later, the machine fleet attacked. Thousands of red beams crossed the darkness. Human defense stations opened fire immediately. Blue energy blasts slammed into enemy ships across orbit while missiles filled the space between fleets. The stars themselves seemed to burn. The first line of machine warships exploded apart under heavy fire, but more continued forward without slowing down. No fear. No panic. Only cold purpose. Leah looked at the tactical screen in horror. There are too many. Adam gripped the edge of his command station. Stay focused. Nearby, several Orlan ships vanished in sudden explosions as machine weapons tore through their shields. Human fighters rushed between larger warships while defense cannons fired endlessly toward the advancing enemy fleet. Still the machines kept coming. Inside Iron Dawn, Elias watched the battle reports carefully. Outer defense line collapsing, Daniel Price warned. Another officer turned toward Elias nervously. Enemy units are moving toward Earth's defense core. Elias's expression hardened slightly. Deep beneath Earth's oceans rested the ancient planetary defense network controlling every major weapon around Terra. If the machines destroyed it, Earth would fall. Redirect reserve fleets, Elias ordered immediately. But another officer spoke quickly. They won't arrive in time. The bridge became silent. Then a new signal appeared on the screen. Captain Adam Reed. Iron Dawn, Adam said calmly, the Solace is moving to intercept. Leah turned toward him in shock. Captain. Adam looked at her quietly. If they reach the defense core, Terra dies. The small Orlan ship suddenly accelerated away from the battle line. Machine warships immediately turned toward it. Warning alarms screamed across Solace as enemy fire struck the shields repeatedly. The ship shook violently. We're losing shield power, one officer shouted. Leah grabbed the controls tightly. Adam, there's too many. But Adam's eyes stayed fixed ahead. Directly in front of them, a giant machine warship moved toward Earth's oceans. Toward the defense core. Adam took a slow breath. Then he gave the final order. All remaining power to engines. The crew froze. Leah stared at him. You can't mean. We gave humanity our word, Adam said softly. Outside the ship, Solace surged forward at full speed straight toward the machine vessel. Enemy weapons ripped through its hull. Fire spread across the ship. Systems failed one by one. But Solace never slowed down. Leah looked at Adam with tears in her eyes. You knew this would happen. Adam smiled faintly. My father once died protecting humans during the collapse wars. The ship shook violently again. Seems fitting. The giant machine warship turned its weapons toward them. Too late. Solace crashed directly into the center of the enemy vessel. A massive explosion lit the darkness above Earth. The machine ship broke apart instantly. Fragments of burning metal scattered across orbit. Inside Iron Dawn, silence filled the bridge. Daniel stared at the screen. He stopped them. Elias lowered his head quietly. For a moment, nobody spoke. Then another officer shouted suddenly. Enemy fleet losing coordination. The destruction of the command vessel had damaged the machine network. Across the battlefield, enemy ships began moving erratically. Elias looked up immediately. Now. Human warships surged forward together. Earth's ancient defense grid activated fully across the solar system. Hidden stations near Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn opened fire at the same time. Blue energy beams crossed the darkness like rivers of light. Machine ships exploded everywhere. One by one, the ancient fleet fell apart under the combined assault. Hours later, the final enemy vessel drifted silently above Pluto before exploding into frozen debris. The battle was over. Terra survived. Days later, the galaxy waited nervously for humanity's next move. Systems failed one by one. But Solace never slowed down. Leah looked at Adam with tears in her eyes. You knew this would happen. Adam smiled faintly. My father once died protecting humans during the collapse wars. The ship shook violently again. Seems fitting. The giant machine warship turned its weapons toward them. Too late. Solace crashed directly into the center of the enemy vessel. A massive explosion lit the darkness above Earth. The machine ship broke apart instantly. Fragments of burning metal scattered across orbit. Inside Iron Dawn, silence filled the bridge. Daniel stared at the screen. He stopped them. Elias lowered his head quietly. For a moment, nobody spoke. Then another officer shouted suddenly. Enemy fleet losing coordination. The destruction of the command vessel had damaged the machine network. Across the battlefield, enemy ships began moving erratically. Elias looked up immediately. Now. Human warships surged forward together. Earth's ancient defense grid activated fully across the solar system. Hidden stations near Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn opened fire at the same time. Blue energy beams crossed the darkness like rivers of light. Machine ships exploded everywhere. One by one, the ancient fleet fell apart under the combined assault. Hours later, the final enemy vessel drifted silently above Pluto before exploding into frozen debris. The battle was over. Terra survived. Days later, the galaxy waited nervously for humanity's next move. Many feared revenge. After centuries of betrayal and war, nobody would blame humanity for conquering the galaxy by force. But Elias Ward chose differently. Across every major world, humanity released the complete truth about the collapse wars. Every hidden meeting. Every betrayal. Every sacrifice. The guilty leaders who caused humanity's downfall were arrested by their own people. Human fleets did not burn worlds. They did not destroy cities. Instead, they gave the galaxy the truth. And for the first time in centuries, the lies finally ended. Months later, Earth bloomed with life again. Human cities rose beside green forests and clean oceans. Children played beneath open skies while ships from many worlds arrived peacefully in orbit above Terra. Near the restored coast of the Pacific Ocean, a large memorial was built from white stone and metal taken from the remains of Solace. Humans and Orlans gathered together during the opening ceremony. Leah Morgan stood quietly beside Admiral Elias Ward as the names of fallen soldiers appeared across the memorial walls. At the center stood Captain Adam Reed's name. Elias looked toward the crowd silently. Humanity survived because someone chose loyalty when it was hardest, he said. The wind moved softly across the ocean nearby. For that, Elias continued, Terra will never forget. Above the memorial entrance, a single message was carved into the stone. When Earth stood alone, they remained beside us. And beneath Earth's restored skies, humanity finally came home.